30 years. Before that, he was very serious, and no one liked him at all.
Under the bright lights of late-night television, David Spade's sharp tongue and effortless sarcasm made millions laugh. But behind that smirk was a man shaped by loss, rejection, and survival. He wasn't born into privilege. He fought his way through silence and loneliness, turning pain into punchlines. From sleeping on couches in Los Angeles to standing beside Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live, Spade became the voice of every underdog who hides heartbreak behind a joke. Yet, fame would test him harder than poverty ever did. A best friend gone too soon. A family tragedy that shattered his quiet strength. So how did a soft-spoken kid from Arizona transform heartbreak into comedy gold and keep the world laughing, even when his own laughter was breaking inside? David Wayne Spade was born on July 27, 1964, in Birmingham, Michigan. But his story truly began in the blazing desert of Scottsdale, Arizona. When he was 4, his father walked out, leaving his mother, Judith, to raise 3 boys alone. Money was scarce. The family survived on welfare, thrift stores, and the kind of resilience only heartbreak can build. David grew up small, shy, and painfully aware that the world could be cruel. Bullied at school, he learned that humor could protect him. A sarcastic remark, a quick joke. Laughter became his armor. At night, he watched reruns of Johnny Carson and dreamed of standing on that same stage someday, turning his insecurities into applause. But tragedy struck early. His stepfather's temper cast a shadow over their home, and David often escaped into comedy to survive the chaos. He wasn't chasing fame yet, he was chasing peace. And through every insult, every bruise of childhood, a voice inside him whispered that one day, he'd turn all this pain into something people would celebrate. After high school, David enrolled at Arizona State University, but classrooms couldn't hold his restless mind. At night, he slipped into smoky comedy clubs around Tempe, performing 5-minute sets for drunk college kids who barely listened. The laughs were small, but they were real. Each one was a tiny victory. In 1986, he packed his old car and drove to Los Angeles with a few $100s and a sharper tongue than most could handle. The city didn't care. He bombed auditions, lived on couches, and wondered if sarcasm was enough to survive Hollywood. Then came a moment that changed everything. Dennis Miller, a rising name on Saturday Night Live, caught one of Spade's sets. He saw something rare. A comic who could make cruelty sound charming. Miller pulled some strings, and by 1989, David Spade was writing sketches at SNL, barely making rent but finally inside the room where legends were born. At first, he was invisible, quiet, cautious, waiting for his chance. But when his Hollywood Minute sketches aired, mocking celebrities with razor-sharp wit, America finally noticed. David Spade had found his stage, not through loud punchlines, but through the art of saying everything with a smirk. By the early 90s, David Spade was no longer the quiet writer in the corner. He was Saturday Night Live's master of deadpan. His Hollywood Minute sketches became a cultural hit, roasting celebrities with precision and a grin that said, "I'm just kidding," or "maybe I'm not." Audiences loved his unapologetic sarcasm. The industry didn't. Some stars refused to appear on SNL after his jokes, but Spade had already struck gold. Then came Chris Farley. Where Spade was calm and cynical, Farley was chaos and joy. Together they became one of comedy's most iconic duos, yin and yang in a world built on timing. Their films Tommy Boy and Black Sheep turned friendship into box office magic. Behind the scenes, they were brothers. Spade grounding Farley's wildness, Farley pulling Spade out of his shell. For the first time, David felt seen, not just as the sarcastic guy, but as a storyteller with heart. But the higher they climbed, the more fragile everything became. Fame demanded more, faster, louder. Spade moved into TV again with Just Shoot Me. Earning Emmy and Golden Globe nominations, he became a household name, a face of American humor. Yet in the quiet moments after the laughter, there was an ache, a sense that something was slipping away. The comedy world that once felt like family was turning colder, and the person who kept him grounded was about to be gone forever. Fame had given David Spade everything he thought he wanted: attention, money, respect. But it also took away the one person who made it all worth it. In 1997, Chris Farley died from a drug overdose. The news hit Spade like a lightning bolt. He didn't attend the funeral. People called him cold, but the truth was simpler. He couldn't bear to see his best friend in a coffin. For months, he vanished from the spotlight, drowning in guilt and silence. Every laugh now carried a ghost. Then, in 2000, Hollywood turned darker. Spade's personal assistant, someone he trusted, broke into his home at night and attacked him with a stun gun. The betrayal cut deeper than the pain itself. Fame had brought him fans, but it also brought predators, opportunists, and endless whispers. The tabloids painted him as shallow, arrogant, a man who used women and hid behind jokes. Yes, he dated models and actresses, Heather Locklear, Lara Flynn Boyle, but beneath the gossip was a lonely man who didn't know how to be loved. And then came another tragedy. In 2018, his brother Gary Spade, the husband of designer Kate Spade, took his own life, just weeks after Kate's suicide. David was shattered. 2 deaths in one family, decades apart, both from pain no one could see. He stood on stage again soon after, his voice trembling, his jokes quieter. The audience laughed, but this time it wasn't about fame or applause. It was about survival. After years of hiding behind sarcasm, David Spade finally began to let the world see the man behind the smirk. He returned to the stage not as the brash comic of the 90s, but as a survivor who had learned that laughter could heal, if it came from honesty. In 2019, he launched Lights Out with David Spade on Comedy Central. It wasn't about punchlines or celebrity gossip. It was about perspective. A softer, wiser version of the man who once mocked Hollywood, now gently dissecting it. The show wasn't a massive hit, but it became something far more valuable, real. Fans saw a David Spade who could laugh at himself, mourn openly, and still keep that signature wit intact. Off-screen, he quietly supported mental health initiatives, donating to suicide prevention charities in honor of his family's loss. He became a mentor to younger comedians, reminding them that humor without humility is hollow. No longer chasing fame, Spade started chasing peace. He'd finally learned that the greatest punchline isn't about the crowd. It's about surviving long enough to tell the story. In the end, David Spade's legacy isn't written in ratings or red carpets. It's written in survival. He turned childhood pain into humor, grief into perspective, and loneliness into laughter that millions could share. He never wanted to be the loudest comic in the room. He wanted to be the honest one. His wit was sharp, but his heart was softer than most people ever knew. And through every loss, Chris Farley, his family, and even his own sense of self, Spade found the courage to keep smiling. Today, he stands not as the snarky kid from SNL, but as a man who proved that even sarcasm can be a kind of strength. Because sometimes, the only way to survive life's cruelty is to laugh through it. David Spade's story is proof that comedy isn't just about making others laugh. It's about reminding ourselves that we're still alive to try. If you believe in the healing power of laughter, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from Hollywood.